Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. And if you're a regular listener, you're in for a special treat here because I've got a guy here who, besides his sexy Aussie accent, he's one of the premier experts in the marketing world today. He's coached people like Justin Brooke, Ryan Levesque, people like that. People in his various coaching groups are really crushing it, becoming successful. So he's a man who needs no introduction, so we'll skip all that. Mr. James Schramko, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you having a chat with us today.
Thank you for having me. And I enjoy our interactions on social media, so it's nice to be able to actually have a formal recording again.
Yeah. We last did this. For those who know the podcast, you'll know James's episode is up there. That must have been 8 to 10 years ago. I think that was about 8 years ago that we actually did that last episode. So
who knew that content marketing would be so popular in the future?
Yeah, I think most of the predictions that you made on there have come true and then some. So I'm really excited to talk about what we were just talking about off camera a bit with the students that you have that are really crushing it, how they're going about their whole business model and how it relates to all the things that you put in together. Because with chatbots and different types of funnels and quizzes and all of that has its place. But what we were talking about is that, that seems to be overcomplicating things a great deal. So what's your viewpoint on that? How are you working with people on that?
I think those tools are good. In some cases, they're being used well. Like marketers tend to ruin tools and platforms. They use them in ways they weren't intended for, and then they get banned, and it all ends in. It's also good for the tool sellers. In the gold rush, the people selling the tools are the ones making the money. Yeah. So I think it's a genius idea having funnel software, and if you sell chatbots and things, great. Yeah. Segmentation and surveying type tools are kind of in. But the core methodology behind it is pretty straightforward, and I've been able to use some of the concepts in a much simpler way. So, for example, instead of having a very complicated survey funnel with multi-segmentation and pixels and chatbots and all this, we just put a few different images on our homepage with hyperlinks to the next page. Move people through a kind of choose your own adventure that makes it all relevant for them. And this is an old concept. In fact, we were doing this in the car industry, was segmenting our buyers according to interest. Even if they were interested in a particular model, we had a 6-letter acronym that would help us sift and sort that client into the right hot buttons, they used to call them, and only talk about things that were interesting to the client, which is always a good idea, be relevant.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to keep things simple, it's about being super relevant for your audience. And that's where some people go wrong. They're more interested in what they've got to say and what they're doing. And the great idea they have. But it's all about knowing. A good way to really get to know your customer very well is to create some kind of community. So I've just ticked over 10 years now of having my own membership online. And a lot of other people are discovering the community aspect, whether it's Ezra Firestone has a community around his e-commerce product. So traditional brands and direct response marketers are now organizing communities around them. We're seeing even the greatest of product launch formula syndicate type marketers are now building memberships and subscriptions and turning to social media to actually connect with people rather than just push to them. They're actually having an interaction now.
Yeah. It's very important. I mean, I know marketers now who have sold courses for a long time, and then they just stop selling their courses. They give the content away for free, and they just have a couple of different levels of membership and some private coaching and stuff like that. But that's the community they build up. They build up a core community of a few people who who pay a lot of money every month to be in that community, and then it goes out from there with lower price points, and of course they have their social media followers as well as sort of outer rim of that community.
Well, some of the people who I know are going really well. One thing that seems to be in common is they're usually cornering a more premium end of the market. You don't actually have to have a lot of low-end products.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk about tripwires, and in fact, if you go back, I think it might have been 10 years ago, $7 products were in back then, before they were even called a tripwire. You don't actually have to have that in your marketing repertoire. If you want, you can have really good free content that is, the new free content is as good as the old paid content. And I've always had that approach. It should be so good that people would pay for it. And that will build up that market, the trust, the rapport, the awareness, the relevance, the conversion is happening. So I found things like podcasts to be particularly powerful, and videos of more recent phenomenon. People are watching a lot more videos since the advent of the iPhone and the tablets. And those things are enough to bring people, to warm them up to the point where they might consider a higher ticket item. And I look to examples like Ferrari, who don't really have a low ticket product. It's like high ticket or nothing.
Yeah.
And they don't have a high volume either. You can have a low ticket, low volume and still do really well. In fact, you have like 30 or so members paying $3,000 a month. You have $1 million a year business.
Yeah. It's an important point. And some of these guys that I know who have these kinds of memberships, they just service a very small number of clients, and they have that big jump that you're talking about, which in traditional internet marketing training, we're trained that you've got to ascend people slowly up this ladder. You've got to go free, $7, then $47, $97, and so forth. So this goes against that whole thing, and I think that I love your input on this. That people are more ready, and what you said before about free content being the new paid content, that really was a great way to put it. What I was thinking, it really crystallized that people are as well qualified a prospect reading your free content now as they used to be with paid content. So therefore, it's not really that much of a jump. It's as if somebody had paid a couple of $100 to read your content. That's now on social media. So that person is now more prepared to jump up to the next level.
It's a very similar concept to the power of demonstration. People test drive before they buy.
Yeah.
If you can help people get a result before they buy, this is something Dean Jackson talks about. Help them get a result before they even hand over the money. Then that's going to be an easier ask. And the proof is there through their own results. I actually get a lot of people sending me correspondence for having gotten results just from listening to my podcast, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm able to serve a last at a very low cost. It costs very little in terms of hosting to find my perfect buyers. And I agree with you. The ascension model is the biggest myth ever. This concept that people always start low and then go up high. In my own top level group, which is called Silver Circle, there's 34 members at the moment. And around about a third of them are also members of my super fast business community, which is a more affordable starting point. But 2/3 are not. They've come straight in at the top. And there's like, some people are going to walk into the bar and they're going to want that top shelf liquor. Like not to start out of the tap.
The beer and then go up to
They're not. So the goal is to help people find the right product for them straight away and have the most relevant conversation possible. And I want to just extend on a thought. It's good to have a higher ticket, low volume product, but I do actually have quite a few clients who have high ticket, high volume. And, there's some, a few of them, they actually have hundreds of people at thousands per month. You can end up having a $10 million a year business if that's the main thing that you do. And they don't really have anything in between that, from free to that, with the exception of a book. And I will say this, most of the people I'm coaching, when they're doing $3 million a year on average, almost all of them have or are having a book. And I think it's an old school concept that is not getting tired. It's great to have a book.
Yeah. That's interesting because I'm actually just finished writing my latest one, and I've got someone who helped me launch that. And it's really something that we're taught over the years, but not everybody implements it. I know a lot of people who don't have a book who know better, and they know that they should be a published author, and if possible a best-selling author, but they haven't done that. And as well as they've done, but what you're saying is they do even better if they had a book.
It's a magnifier. There'll be pre-book and post-book in their phase of life. and in fact, one of my students, Alan Dibb, who has a marketing book, it's pretty much the top marketing book on Amazon most of the time. It's called the One-Page Marketing Plan. And I asked him to prepare a presentation for Superfast Business Live on the topic of how to get your own book and be a bestseller, etc. Not because that's his business model. He's got no interest in teaching people this. I just wanted him to show his secrets because you can actually make a decent income from it. But he's mastered the idea of creating a book that sells well and then how to promote it beyond the publishing thing. And I've noticed this, I actually learned from my own students. My book a year later is still a bestseller and selling really well because you can actually create a good book and market it appropriately over the long haul. Yeah. And I think there will be a difference. I've noticed that people who read the book, who then find your products or services, are very receptive to getting on board. There's not much sales involved. In fact, I've somehow escaped the need to be a world-class copywriter, and there's no 30-page direct response sales letters in any of my marketing because by the time people get to my site, a lot of the heavy lifting's been done.
Yeah, they're pre-sold. And but that's the thing about a good book, it is its own sales letter, and it doesn't have to be in that format. Although the old Jeff Paul, how to make $4,000 a day sitting at your kitchen table in your underwear, that was like a sales letter positioned as a book. But he's a different story. Your book like yours, it's got amazing content, and from what I flicked through it's just like everything you share on social media, but even better. Because I've seen your videos on LinkedIn as well, and they're really good content. But the book teaches that content. This is the content marketing thing that you've been talking about for so many years. You put out the good content, and it's not like, it doesn't have a headline and bullet points and a call to action. It's not a sales letter, but it still pre-sells people on wanting to do business with you, especially at that higher price membership.
Yeah, it's more like a dripping water torture, like over time. I found some people might take 7 or 8 years to become a customer. Yeah. But it's a long game. And if you keep producing good stuff, people will eventually take notice. So as with everybody, you start out as a nobody with no experience, with imposter syndrome, wondering if your stuff's any good. If you just keep publishing, I wouldn't say that I'm very good at any of the things that I've done in terms of the podcast or the videos or whatever. The book is a good book because I had a lot of help from Kelly Exeter on that. So acknowledging that, she made the book better than I could make it. And I'm good at my coaching. I have a good core product, and that never hurt a business. They have a fantastic core product. But I think just through sheer persistence, I'm up to 632 podcast episodes now on my core podcast. Yeah. So just chipping away at it, if you put out a podcast every week for a number of years, you will end up getting some market share.
Yeah. That's the idea with Geniuses of Copywriting. I've only just started this as we're recording this today, a few months ago, and I've just got a handful of people on here. So yeah, I never imagined that suddenly cash would rain from the sky the day after I released the first episode. But this podcast is a long game. It's a way to build up exactly what you have. I'm probably about 600 odd episodes behind you right now, but I'll have to try and catch up.
Well, the thing is, I'm probably 500 episodes behind someone else.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
The first guy that I saw with content marketing was Gary Vee, and I was doing videos 10 years ago. I did them quite a lot, and then I stopped for a while, and then I did them about 5 years ago, and then I had a pause, and then I've been at it again since last year every day. And a lot has changed in terms of the ease of distribution and the number of platforms you can publish to and the way that people consume information. I think I was too far ahead of my time before. It was difficult to produce. It was a slightly clunky process and not quite. But now it's the time to make videos especially.
Yeah. I've actually just ordered some more AV gear. Hopefully should be coming next couple of days. So that's something that I want to get into as well. So I've done in the past bits here and there, but I didn't need to order a good camera and all that sort of thing, because if you're watching this video on YouTube, you might see that even though I bought the new MacBook Air a couple of months ago, the webcam isn't very good. So I'm ordering a good camera. I've got the Blue Yeti mic here. I've got the lapel mic on the way and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm doing as well. And it's really an interesting idea. It's kind of an inspiration that I had of yours, James, where I've been seeing your little videos on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and they're really cool. So that's another pathway for people to discover you.
People always ask about tools like what surprisingly few I've discovered over the years. I actually had DSLR cameras and boom mics and mixers and all of that, light boxes. I got rid of all of it. And all those little videos you see now, they're just filmed on an iPhone. Yeah. And a simple rig, like a light. You can have it's like a tripod with a light on it. Yeah. And a phone holder. That's about it that I'm making those videos with. And one of my other clients I learnt a lot from, Scott Devine, has Scott Space Guitars. He uses this camera. It's a Canon. Okay. It's the G7X. And he ditched his DSLR cameras and he got this, and it allows a selfie mode. And when he went doing ghetto mode selfies, he actually doubled his traffic to the YouTube channel because people really liked the sort of rustic, more behind the scenes, less produced feel for it. Yeah. And, if you're podcasting, you could just use something like that, a little digital recorder to capture the audio, or one of those mics like this sort of a mic. Yeah. Which I imagine. Yeah. That's about it. That's basically, that's all the equipment that I use in my business now to generate millions of dollars a year. And if you want to go above that, absolutely. There's no limit to how far you can get it. But don't let the device stop you. Seriously, if all you had is an iPhone, you could create podcasts and videos just with that. Yeah, and I'll update you later on. I've ordered something called a Boya M1 lapel mic, which plugs into a phone, and that's apparently really good. I've got a friend, David Kavanagh, who recommended me for that one, and I'll let you know how that went. But you're right, it doesn't take that much equipment, and I think some of the people out there really fall for that trick of needing all the equipment. They see somebody like Mindvalley, for example. They've got a whole video team or expensive cameras, and if I could tell you what their budget is to create a course or create a piece of content, you'd be astounded how much they actually spend on that stuff. And it shows in the quality of their stuff. No doubt their content and their courses are top of the range, but they're really an exception. When it comes to a person like you who has a simple camera, simple mic, and just a simple setup and making tons of money based on that, it shows you don't need to spend up big on all that stuff. I think the point is you can choose. So heaps of my clients use really pro gear. Scott was a really interesting one because he actually downscaled. He had 2 guys filming DSLRs, the works in the studio. Another one of my students, Tom Breeze, has a whole studio, but he's a YouTube expert. I mean, that's important for him to have a studio. They need to bring in talent. They need to make videos for them. I actually sent them the video, filmed on my camera, and they actually cleaned it up and made it look amazing. So they got mad editing skills as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the companies like Mind Valley with high level specs. And when I spoke for them in Spain, they had a film crew there, and they did a pro level documentary. I love that level. And when you've got a big company with a big revenue and lots of staff to feed, you need to sell a lot of stuff. So the quality has to be high. And I do think there's quality inflation going on. I think there is a minimum standard. So at least having clean sound and a nice picture will get you a long way down the track.
Yeah, that's important. That's why I always use the Blue Yeti mic, and the mics in these new MacBook Air laptops are a lot better than the old ones. But I still use the good mic, to make sure we capture that good sound. And I'm working. I've got my little spare room here in my apartment where I've got everything closed off, and I want to make sure that sound is good because for this podcast, especially, I just want to make sure that the sound quality is high. This video that we're recording right now is just incidental. Throw it up on YouTube, but the sound is the most important part.
Beautiful.
So we've discussed some amazing things about different ways of getting customers, books, and content marketing. About the kind of gear that you need. If somebody's out there and they're wanting to expand their reach and they're still not quite sure, what else other advice do you have for them?
Well, I mean, the go-to list at the moment is produce content, good core content that addresses the challenges your customers are facing. Publish your videos. Podcast, I wouldn't say is round one. That's a more competitive, saturated market. Yeah. It's probably a bit harder to come up with a show that's interesting enough because, I mean, it was good when I started. It's harder now. But I'll definitely do videos, and then I would have good, well-written Facebook posts, story-based or documentary style, pictured and long form still, leading to any kind of free or shareable content would be amazing. I was speaking to Molly Pittman about this morning, actually. Some of her campaigns get a 50% ratio of shares to comments. So they half the people who comment will also share the content because they're putting content that's so good that people just want to share it, like little docu-series, etc. Yeah. So combining a blend of paid traffic and social traffic's good. But of course, there's still old school ways to do this. Like find out who's got your customers and have them promote you to their email list would be a fantastic quick start. And contribute to people who have your audience. Get on their show, send them content to put inside their memberships, meet people when you go to live events and start to get connections. So those things are great to have that peer group supporting you. Often my peer group will support me if I'm mentioning something, they'll actually share it and put it in front of their audience, which is always appreciated. Yeah. Whenever I'm on someone's show, I'll always share their show on my social media to give them some love and so that I get invited back or they think fondly of me.
But we do
it's anyway. A long game. You got to take this long game approach. Yeah. And who can I serve? How can I help? So social media, paid traffic, joint ventures, they're all good starts. And, you can even buy a business that's already established. You can actually hop onto marketplaces and get a business that already has something in place. So you can start from scratch quickly. And one of my favorite things lately is it's kind of like to create an instant business from nothing is I'll take a revenue share slice in someone else's business. I'll just park up to someone else's business and I'm effectively going into business with them and I'm helping them grow their business. So I get a little cut from the profits that we make and they get a better business and I get rewarded as a sort of a royalty. And this is a business model that I've been doing really well with and sharing with my students. And it's a nice way to get started if you're good at something. If you have an audience or you're really good at some particular skill, you can use that skill in someone else's business rather than having to create your own. That could actually be your business.
Yeah. And that's, I noticed that that's one of the latest episodes of your podcast, the Superfast Business Podcast that you just emailed your list about, which I'm on. So that's something people should check out as well. But it highlights a really good point that I've been thinking about lately. No person is an island. It's important to build up your network. It's important to do these deals and these JVs with other business owners and other marketers. So internet marketing can be a lonely business, and I've found myself sitting in my spare room plenty of times and feeling isolated. And that's why you've got to get out to those live events, like you mentioned. That's why you've got to start talking to people all over the place and doing deals. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, if it was an island, I'd be okay with it, because I spent so long in the actual job
as long as it has good surf.
Like, I had an office which had a door at the front and a door at the back.
Yeah.
And behind my office was a keyboard for all the cars in the entire dealership.
Yeah.
And the salespeople would go back and forth from my office. And when we went into this new building, the carpet wore out within a month.
Yeah.
I'd literally have 80 or 90 interruptions every few hours. It was like crazy. So when I started my own business and I quit my job about 10 years ago now, the peace and quiet was serene. Actually, I don't mind the quiet, but I do know that other people tend to fill the void. They go out and seek socialization, especially in social media, and that can be the killer of productivity. So I think you need a strong discipline if you want to grow your business. You got to be able to turn off the need to get that social lubrication all the time. But I definitely recommend going to live events, because I can pinpoint all the big growth spurts in my business came from live events, especially when I started going to America. Yeah. And I catapulted into a high level group of millionaires back then who connected me with good IP, good ideas around paid traffic, CPA marketing. And I got exposed to people making a lot more money than I was, which lifted my bar on what I felt was acceptable for myself. I didn't want to sell myself short anymore.
True. I found the same thing. That's why I'm going to sit on a plane for 18 hours next month and go across the TNCs. So, and it's not for the content, but it's for the networking. I'll meet clients there. I'll meet potential clients there. I'll be hanging out with the Justin Brook and the Ad Skills crew. So that's why I'm going there. So,
some people will travel a long way for a free breakfast.
I'll do anything for a free breakfast.
I like giving Justin a big hug at that event. It's a great place. Every time I've been to that event, I've noted down the people who I bump into, and I usually end up with about 115 contacts in my notepad. And it's a nice way to reconnect with my peer group and to see what's happening. That event in particular is a good networking event. Whereas some other events have different purposes. Some might be a high level content event where you're learning
like a
terrific IP. They might be smaller where you're really getting to share more intimately about your business and get more relevant information to you.
That's true.
In terms of sheer volume of many people, TNC is a big one.
Yeah. But those smaller events that you mentioned are still good for networking. You meet a smaller number of people, but those people tend to be higher value to your business.
So I'm thinking about my Maldives mastermind, where there's effectively 10 clients plus me, and over a week on a boat where you can't go anywhere else. You build relationships that are lifelong lasting, and not only that, you cross-pollinate best practice. A few of those students came off the boat and doubled their business. One guy doubled his business the month after, and then the month after that he doubled it again, implementing things that he got from that, because we just intensely focused on him for a week. And by the time you spend a week with 10 people, you'll find out everything good they're doing. And you cross-pollinate the ideas. It's a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the end game for a lot of us. But when it comes to cross-pollinating ideas that you've come across from your students in your business, one of the things that you've done that really well in is your books. So can you tell us about the book? I know that's one that I've got, and it's been around for a little while. Tell us about that.
So it's called Work Less, Make More. That's what it looks like. I'll show you the cover because there's some books with similar names.
Yeah.
But in the book, I talk about basically about being personally effective. Like, you've got to get out of your own way and set up your routines for success, and to get off the social media, set a routine for yourself, set schedulers, move out of your email. It's probably killing productivity for most people. Once you've got that sorted, it talks about how you can find the right offer to promote, and about getting a team to help you grow your business, and choosing the right business model, and then scaling that model so that you don't have too much drama. And I deconstruct the ascension model. I talk about how that's not such a great idea. I talk about no compromise. And then there's a bonus chapter that people can get that's not in the book, but it links to it. And that's around the whole concept of Own the Race course, which I talk about. And that's controlling what you can control and not getting wiped out by making a silly move, building on someone else's platform in entirety, which is a very common mistake that I see people make. Yeah,
because I know people who, you know, if Facebook went away for some reason, you know, their entire business would be gone.
Yes, especially if they're sitting there with a group and that's their sole traffic point. Yeah. So I think more than ever, it's important to have your audience should be distributed across multiple places. So I like to have, I mean, in the old days, we wanted an email list.
Yeah.
And then I started talking about an email list with a subscription guarantee, which is like the safety net. Get people subscribed to the podcast.
Yeah.
Get people as your fan on Facebook. Have some Instagram followers. Get a LinkedIn connection thing happening. So if I went and added all those individual pots up, my collective audience is getting a good exposure to my message, and I'm able to reach them. If I lost any one of those, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. That's an amazingly good reason why people should read that book. So what's the website where they can get that at? Or should they get it on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon or Audible, so you can listen to it. You can read it. It would be a great place to start. You will find it at superfastbusiness.com as well at the bottom of the page. Links to your relevant market.
Yeah. I'll chuck a link up on the page for this podcast. And if you're listening on iTunes, just go search on Amazon, Work Less, Make More by James Schramko. Amazing book. You just heard all the stuff that he's put in there. It's basically, you know, everything that you need to do to create a successful online business. So I'd strongly recommend that.
It'll kind of apply to a regular business too, the profit formula in there.
Yeah, true.
The book that I wanted my kids to read, and it's quite short as well. It doesn't take long to read. And at the end of each chapter, action checklist.
Yeah.
In fact, there is a workbook that summarizes all of the action checklists available at jamesschramko.com. And that one, if you just filled out those action steps, you will have a transformation, even if you don't read the book. You get a result.
Still get the book though, because it's very valuable.
Get the book.
And definitely get it, and it's well worth it. So I strongly recommend that. Thanks again for joining us, James. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show again. This time with a proper episode for Genius of Copywriting. I really appreciate everything you shared with us, and I hope that lots of people go out and are smart enough to get your book.
Well, it's incredibly generous of you to have me back, and I really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you shared. So thanks again, and we'll do this again soon.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.